Okay, so today's opener is just going to be a review over lessons that we did last week. So this is just to kind of make sure that you're still remembering what we did last week and you're not confusing the old stuff with the new stuff, simplifying square roots. So let's take a look at the first three. The directions here say factor each of the following, write your answers in standard form and exponential form. Now if you notice, these three numbers are not square roots. So we're not going to follow those 4 steps to simplify a square root because 90, 160, and 180 are not a square root. They do not have a square root sign over it. So what two numbers can I use to multiply together to get 90? So 9 and 10. Okay. What are my two factors for 9, Darius? What are my two factors? What can I multiply together to get 9 here? Oh, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Imagine, what two numbers can you multiply together to get 10? Jemiah, standard form. How would I write these prime numbers in standard form? No square root. Because remember, we're not doing square roots. If there is not a square root to start with, don't add one. Okay? So that's standard form. Exponential form, Rihanna?
2 multiply 3 squared multiply 7. Wait, no. What did I put? 5.
5. Good. So that's how your first answer should look. What's that? Yes, I do. All right, what are two factors that I can use to multiply 160? Now remember, there are a lot of different factors I could use, but what are the two that you use, Darius?
16 and 10.
Okay, so we're going to do 10 and 16. What are two factors of 10, Nick? And I'm going to circle them because they're prime. What are two factors for 16, Devontae? And go ahead and simplify 4 or factor out 4, Devontae. And then my other 4 is going to be the same. Good. All right, standard form, Brendan. I'm going to come up. I'm going to make sure I put my equal sign in. Then standard form.
2 times 2 times 2 times 5.
So how many 2s should I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Exponential form, Deontay.
5 power 5
Times. I did. 2 to the 5th times. There you go. Times 5. Good. Questions?
No.
All right. Let's look at the last. Yes, ma'am. Or you want to do your factors? Rihanna, what are the factors for 180?
15 and 12.
Different numbers. Good. 12 and 15. Rihanna for 12.
2 and 6.
For 6.
3 and 2.
And for 15.
3 and 5.
So I went ahead and I circled all my prime numbers. We should pretty much have our prime numbers down. I'm going to come to the right of 180. I'm going to put my equal sign. Standard form, Isaiah.
2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5.
And exponential form, Darius.
2 squared times 3 squared times 5.
Perfect. That's why you guys are usually my favorite class. I didn't say always. I said usually.
Dang, bro.
I mean, you're my food. Always.
It's really my favorite when Deontay's not here, but we can all get what we want. All right, I'm teasing. Sometimes. Let's look at the back.
What that has to do with 30?
All right, we have the square root of 64. Now, if you're using your multiplication chart, the square root of 64, you can find out that it's a perfect square. So what number can you multiply by itself to get 64, Darius?
16 times.
Remember, square root is a number that you use to multiply by itself to get the answer.
8.
8. So we write our answer out a little bit funny, right? Though we do the square root, we do 8 squared, because we want to show that square and square root cancel out to actually equal 8. So when we're simplifying square roots, remember how we write our factor pairs underneath there like this? And then we circle our factor pairs?
Yeah.
My second 8 cancels with the square root sign. So the 8 squared and 8 times 8, that means the same thing. So the square or the second 8 cancels the square root and we get 8. Okay? You don't have to show the red part, but you do definitely have to show the purple part. Yes?
That is not what I did. I did what we did on the homework.
If you factored it out, so let's say that you didn't know the square root of 64 was a perfect square. You don't have to write what I'm writing in the red right now, okay? So let's say that you factored it out. Say you're just in the habit of factoring them at this point. So what two numbers did you use to get 64?
4 and 16.
Okay? What two numbers for 4?
2 and 2.
What numbers for 16?
4 and 4.
Okay? And then we use what for 4s?
2 and 2 and 2 and 2.
Okay. So then we're going to come up to the right, put our equal sign, put our square root sign, and put all our prime numbers under there. So how many 2's do I have under there?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And that's where you, I think, okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now what do I do, Kelsey?
Something a pair.
So circle pair, circle pair, circle pair. What happens with all these pairs?
One of them gets crossed out.
They all cancel and move to the outside. So then I'm left with,
2 times 2 times 2.
which will equal 2 times 2 is?
4.
4 times 2 is?
8.
So somewhere you just made a
I
mistake.
didn't add it.
Yeah. So you would end up with the exact same thing. All right, let me erase that real fast. Or really slow. Let's pick a bigger eraser. There we go. Excuse me. All right, let's take a look at the next one. The square root of 121. What number can you multiply by itself to get 121?
Okay.
11. So how am I going to write this out, Rihanna?
Square root, and then you put your 11 squared. Cross that out.
So when she says cross that out, be sure that you're canceling. You're crossing out the squared with the square root. Some of you guys are just putting a little cross on your square. Well, that doesn't do any good. Make sure that you're showing that it cancels with your square root. And then that means we just have 11. So box it. The square root of 7 times 7 means the same thing as what? Darius?
7 squared.
7 squared. Or we could think about step 2 of simplifying square roots. What do I do with factor pairs? What do I do with factor pairs?
No.
Circle it. And what happens to that factor pair then?
You cancel it out.
And becomes a single number on the outside. You did. Well, okay, so let's stop. So don't write what I'm writing in the red here. So let's say that you went ahead and took the square root of 7 times 7. Well, what's 7 times 7?
49.
49. However, it's still a square root because we haven't canceled anything out. So then what's the square root of 49? So we'd write it like this, which would equal 7. So that's just a long way to go. Okay? So if you have the incorrect answer down, fix it.
Okay. Miss,
Yes.
But again, this is what I put.
Let's look at our last one here. So we have the square root of 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 5 times 5. Okay, so we're going to do what, Beyonce? Okay? You told me to circle them all. Oh, you saw it coming? My factor pairs. Okay, then what, Beyonce? And then what? I'm not going to put my square root sign. Why not?
Oh, well.
Every number canceled with the square root, right?
Okay.
Well, tell me what numbers come to the outside first before you give me the answer.
Oh, the 2
Times.
3 times 5.
Sorry. Which then, as you just told me, equals 30. Any questions on that? All right.